Have you ever awakened, perhaps stretched a little as you rose, ambled into the kitchen, and poured yourself that initial, seemingly refreshing glass of water, thinking to yourself, this practice is healthy. This is undoubtedly beneficial for me. You are certainly not alone in this habit. The vast majority of us engage in it. It has become practically second nature, feeling intuitively like the correct and responsible action to take, particularly as we advance in years and are repeatedly advised to prioritize hydration, especially by drinking water first thing in the morning. However, let me pose this question to you. Have you ever taken that very first sip of morning water and subsequently, perhaps suddenly, felt just a little bit off? Maybe a brief wave of lightheadedness washes over you. Or perhaps your stomach feels somewhat unsettled and uncomfortable. Or maybe you simply experience a strange sense of fatigue afterward, as if something isn't quite right within your system, yet you tend to dismiss it and proceed with your day. If you find value in exploring these subtle yet important aspects of aging well, please consider liking this video or subscribing to Old Age Wisdom for ongoing insights. What if I were to suggest that something as seemingly simple and universally recommended as drinking water upon waking, an action you've consistently believed to be unequivocally healthy, could actually be subtly placing undue stress on your heart, potentially interfering with the effectiveness of your medications, triggering digestive discomfort, or even gradually harming your kidneys over an extended period? It sounds rather counterintuitive, doesn't it? Yet, this phenomenon is real, and it occurs more frequently than many people might imagine. You see, as we navigate the aging process, our bodies undergo physiological changes that aren't always immediately obvious or readily apparent. What functioned perfectly well for you at the age of 35 doesn't necessarily operate in the exact same manner when you reach 65 or 75. Our internal organs may function at a slightly slower pace. Our natural thirst signals can become less pronounced or reliable. Our blood pressure may fluctuate more readily in response to various stimuli, and our digestive systems often become increasingly sensitive to seemingly minor factors, such as the temperature of liquids, the timing of consumption, or even the speed at which we drink. However, herein lies the crux of the problem. This nuanced aspect of hydration in older adults is seldom discussed openly. Generally, no one explicitly informs you that consuming water incorrectly, particularly first thing in the morning, could potentially be contributing to feeling worse rather than better. That is precisely why you are here, engaging with this information, and why this particular video holds significance. Because today, I intend to guide you through 5 surprisingly common, yet potentially hazardous mistakes that seniors often make when drinking water immediately after waking up. More importantly, we will explore practical strategies on how to effectively avoid these pitfalls. This discussion won't involve complex medical jargon or frightening statistics. Instead, it will offer real, down-to-earth truths that possess the potential to make your mornings safer, gentler on your system, and ultimately healthier. By the conclusion of this video, you should possess clear answers, gain a better understanding of what might truly be occurring within your body, and learn how just a few minor adjustments to your routine can help safeguard your heart health, protect your kidney function, and enhance your overall sense of well-being. And if you happen to be caring for an older individual, or if you are that older individual yourself, absorbing this information could make a substantial positive difference in how you, or they, commence each and every day. So please, stay with me, find a comfortable seat, and let's engage in some candid, practical conversation. And hey, if you're tuned in because you genuinely desire to take better care of yourself each morning, please drop a quick "I'm here" in the comments section below. I'd truly love to know who's watching and who's ready to embrace aging with wisdom and strength. And if this type of conversation resonates with you, if you seek more guidance, greater clarity, and increased comfort navigating the journey of aging, please go ahead and subscribe to Old Age Wisdom. Because here, we don't merely talk about aging, we strive to honor it and walk through its challenges and opportunities together. Let's begin by examining mistake number 1, drinking water too rapidly. Picture this scenario. You open your eyes, perhaps following a night of somewhat restless sleep. Your mouth feels dry, your throat might be slightly scratchy, and your body instinctively craves something cool and refreshing. You reach for that glass of water conveniently placed on your nightstand, Or maybe you shuffle directly to the kitchen, fill up a cup, and then quickly gulp it down, almost as if you'd been stranded in a desert. It provides a fleeting moment of satisfaction, until suddenly, it doesn't. A few minutes later, you might experience a subtle dizzy spell. Your stomach feels vaguely uncomfortable, or you might even perceive a strange sensation of heaviness in your chest or notice an odd flutter in your pulse. Now, most individuals would likely shrug off these sensations, attributing them to standing up too quickly or perhaps not sleeping well the previous night. However, here's what might actually be happening physiologically. As we grow older, our bodies generally become more sensitive to how substances, especially water, are introduced into the system. Your digestive system likely doesn't process things quite as rapidly as it once did. Your stomach may empty more slowly. Your blood pressure can exhibit sudden shifts more readily, and your heart, particularly if already under some strain, doesn't always respond favorably to abrupt changes in fluid volume. When you hastily gulp down a significant amount of water all at once, especially after having been lying down horizontally for several hours, your body is forced into a rapid adjustment mode. This sudden influx of fluid can temporarily dilute your electrolyte balance, potentially triggering feelings of lightheadedness. It can also place undue stress on the heart muscle, particularly if you are already managing conditions like hypertension, arrhythmia, or weakened cardiac function. But here's the aspect that most people remain unaware of. Consuming water too quickly first thing in the morning can even confuse your body's intricate internal regulation systems, paradoxically leading to feelings of fatigue rather than the anticipated boost of energy. Now, I understand the conventional logic behind the practice. You've likely been told repeatedly that drinking water first thing jumpstarts the body, and there is some truth to that notion to a certain degree. However, here is the crucial distinction. It's not merely about drinking water. It's significantly about how you drink it. If you essentially flood your system immediately upon waking, you might not be helping it optimally. Instead, you could potentially be overwhelming it. Your body has just spent approximately 6 to 8 hours in a state of relative fasting and dedicated repair processes. It's operating gently, slowly. You need to meet it at that pace. So what approach should you take instead? Simply take your time. Rather than reaching for a full glass and gulping it down hastily, try this alternative. Begin with approximately half a glass of room temperature water. Sip it slowly, intentionally spreading the consumption over a period of 5 to 10 minutes. Allow your body to gradually warm up to the day, much like you would gently stretch your muscles before embarking on a walk. This single, small modification can make a substantial positive difference in how your heart, kidneys, and digestive system respond to morning hydration. Remember, you're not in a race. You're not desperately chasing immediate energy. Instead, you are consciously building sustainable energy. You're not merely trying to survive the day. You are actively supporting your body's ability to thrive. And here's another important point to keep in mind. Drinking too quickly is only one facet of the potential issue. Timing also plays a critical role, because the very moment you take that first sip, something else might be occurring within your body related to medication absorption that you haven't even considered yet. If you appreciate learning these practical tips for healthier aging, please give this video a like and subscribe to Old Age Wisdom. Your support helps us continue providing valuable information. Now, let's transition into exploring mistake number 2. Consuming water before carefully considering your blood pressure medication timing. Allow me to share a true-to-life anecdote involving James. James is 72, retired, and enjoys his morning walks and reading the newspaper. He has always been a creature of habit, adhering to a consistent routine. Wake up, make the bed, drink a full glass of water, take his prescribed medication, and then proceed with his day. This seems perfectly harmless, doesn't it? However, here's what James hadn't realized. That substantial glass of water he diligently drank first thing every morning was actually diminishing the full intended effect of the very medication crucial for keeping his blood pressure stable. James began noticing subtle changes. He would occasionally feel a bit shaky some mornings, and his blood pressure readings seemed somewhat unpredictable. Initially, he attributed these changes simply to the natural process of aging. But after a brief conversation with his pharmacist, the underlying truth emerged. Certain blood pressure medications, particularly those prescribed for heart rhythm issues, diuretics, water pills, or ACE inhibitors, exhibit significant sensitivity to timing and how they are taken in relation to food and liquids. Some are specifically designed to be taken on an empty stomach, accompanied by only a small sip of water. Others might be recommended to be taken after consuming a light meal. And importantly, some medications, if ingested too soon after guzzling a full glass of water, can become excessively diluted within the digestive system before they even have an adequate opportunity to be properly absorbed and exert their intended therapeutic effect. You see, water itself might seem innocuous, but when medication intake is involved, the interaction becomes slightly more complex. Your body's ability to effectively absorb medication depends on various factors, including your stomach contents at the time, the speed of your digestion, and yes, even the volume of liquid with which the medication is mixed. When you drink a large quantity of water before confirming the specific instructions regarding when or how your medications should be taken, you risk inadvertently flushing them through your system too rapidly, potentially before your body can fully absorb the active ingredients. And what is the potential consequence of this? You might not receive the full intended benefit of the medication. Your blood pressure could potentially spike later in the day, or conversely, it might drop unexpectedly low. Now, please understand that this information is not intended to cause alarm, but rather to empower you with crucial knowledge. Because once James learned to simply wait before drinking his customary full glass of water, everything changed for the better. He consulted with his doctor, made a few minor adjustments to his routine, and now diligently takes his medication exactly as prescribed, initially with just a small sip of water. He then waits approximately 30 minutes before enjoying his usual morning hydration routine. As a result, his blood pressure has stabilized once again. So, here is the essential takeaway for you. If you are currently taking medication, especially for conditions related to your heart, blood pressure, or even thyroid function, do not make assumptions. Engage in a clear conversation with your doctor or your pharmacist. Ask them directly and explicitly, should I be drinking water before or after I take this specific medication? It's a straightforward question, yet the answer can make a world of difference in ensuring your treatment is effective. Because even something as seemingly pure and simple as water, when consumed at the incorrect moment relative to medication, can potentially interfere with what your body genuinely needs to maintain optimal health. And speaking of the wrong moment, there's another common mistake just around the corner. This one isn't necessarily about what you drink, but rather about what you do immediately after you drink it. An action that can quietly trigger issues related to digestion, bladder function, and even balance. Let's delve into mistake number 3. Mistake number 3, lying back down shortly after drinking water. Now, envision this scenario. Martha is 78 years old. She habitually keeps a glass of water by her bedside, a practice she has maintained for years. She typically wakes up early, takes a few sips, or sometimes drinks the entire glass, and then comfortably leans back into her pillows. Just 5 more minutes, she often tells herself. She isn't in a rush. The house is quiet, her joints might feel a bit stiff, and the morning unfolds slowly. However, something began to change subtly over time. Martha has started noticing that familiar burning sensation in her chest occurring more frequently. She also experienced occasional bloating and a sensation of tightness in her upper stomach. Some mornings, she even felt slightly queasy, as if her food from the previous day hadn't quite digested properly. She experimented with altering her diet and occasionally took antacids, but the discomfort persisted. It wasn't until her daughter gently inquired about her specific morning habits that the potential pattern came into focus, drinking water and then immediately lying back down. Now, here's the crucial physiological context you need to understand. As we age, the valve situated between our stomach and esophagus, known as the lower esophageal sphincter, LES, can gradually start to weaken. It may not close as tightly or effectively as it once did. Consequently, gravity plays an increasingly important role in the digestive process. Therefore, when you drink water and then promptly lie flat, that ingested liquid can potentially push back upward into the esophagus, even if it's only water. Particularly when consumed on an empty stomach first thing in the morning, this reflux can stir up mild acid reflux symptoms or exacerbate pre-existing GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, conditions. And importantly, It doesn't always manifest as classic, intense heartburn. Sometimes, the symptoms are more subtle, presenting as that uncomfortable tightness in the chest, a persistent nagging cough, or a lingering feeling of fullness in the upper abdomen. Now, here's the common misconception. Most people perceive water as inherently soothing and believe that drinking it will help settle the stomach. However, lying down too soon after consumption can actually trap the water in the upper part of your digestive tract. This trapped fluid can then begin to irritate the delicate lining of your esophagus, especially during the early morning hours when your stomach is still gradually waking up. Your overall digestion is naturally slower, and your body isn't quite fully prepared to process anything ingested yet. So, what is the recommended alternative approach? It's quite simple. After drinking your morning water, make a conscious effort to remain in an upright position for at least 15 to 30 minutes. You don't necessarily need to stand or walk vigorously around the house. Even just sitting comfortably on the edge of your bed with your feet flat on the floor, perhaps gently stretching your shoulders or calmly reading the morning paper, is generally sufficient. Allow gravity to assist your digestive process naturally. Let your body ease gently into the demands of the day. This represents a small, manageable shift in habit, yet it possesses the potential to save you from considerable discomfort. For someone like Martha, implementing this one simple change, merely staying upright after her morning water, dramatically reduced her reflux symptoms. She didn't require new medication or a restrictive special diet. She simply needed awareness and the application of wisdom. And that is precisely what this channel, Old Age Wisdom, aims to provide. Understanding when your body requires you to approach things differently than you might have in the past. Now, we've discussed the pitfalls of drinking too quickly, the critical timing related to medications, and the importance of avoiding lying down immediately afterward. But let's now move on to explore a mistake that many people mistakenly believe is healthy. In fact, it's a practice that even some doctors once recommended. However, if you're not careful, it can quietly place undue stress on your kidneys without you even realizing it. Let's proceed to mistake number 4. Mistake number 4, consuming cold water first thing in the morning. Now, allow me to share Brian's story. Brian is 75, has always maintained mental sharpness, possesses a disciplined nature, and is a true early riser. For decades, his morning ritual remained unchanged. Wake up, splash cold water on his face, and then promptly drink a tall glass of ice water directly from the refrigerator. He firmly believed this practice jump-started his system, making him feel alert, refreshed, and fully alive. However, over time, subtle shifts began to occur. Some mornings, he would experience mild cramping in his stomach. Not severe, but undeniably uncomfortable. He also noticed a peculiar tightness sensation in his lower back area. His digestion seemed to feel slower than usual. He wasn't experiencing his typical morning appetite, and sometimes he felt unusually cold, even when the room temperature was comfortable. It didn't seem logical. He wasn't consciously doing anything differently, or so he thought. But his body had indeed changed with age, and that glass of icy water, which once felt invigorating, was now quietly disrupting his internal systems. Here's the physiological reason why. Consuming cold water can indeed be a shock to your digestive tract, particularly as you get older. When you drink ice-cold water first thing in the morning, your body is compelled to expend extra energy simply to warm that liquid up to your internal core temperature. While this might seem like a minor metabolic demand when you're younger, for seniors, this added workload can potentially slow down digestion, constrict blood vessels within the stomach lining, and cause mild distress to the kidneys, which are already functioning with potentially reduced efficiency due to age. Consider this: your internal organs generally prefer warmth. They function most actively and efficiently when your core body temperature remains stable. Cold water tends to constrict tissues, slow down processes, and induce tension. It's somewhat analogous to asking your stomach to run a marathon without any proper warm-up beforehand. Yet, numerous people hold the belief that cold equals healthy, associating icy water with cleanliness, purity, or a brisk fresh start. However, for the aging body, that seemingly refreshing shock can actually impose stress on the system precisely when it's most vulnerable. Especially first thing in the morning when muscles are often stiff, organs are just gradually resuming activity, and digestive processes are naturally slower. So, what represents the better choice? Opting for lukewarm or room temperature water is generally advisable. Even better, consider adding a thin slice of lemon to your water. The gentle acidity can help naturally stimulate digestion, while the relative warmth keeps your body calm and promotes internal balance. Brian made that simple switch, and within just 1 week, the stomach cramps ceased, his appetite returned to normal, and he even reported that his mornings felt notably more peaceful. No more sudden, jarring jolts, just steady, supportive hydration, precisely what his body truly needed. Because, once again, what worked effectively in your 40s or 50s may not serve you optimally now, and acknowledging that is perfectly okay. This stage of life often calls for embracing gentler rhythms, cultivating deeper listening to your body's signals, and making wiser, more attuned choices. Now, we have explored 4 critical mistakes related to morning hydration, each one seemingly small and easily overlooked. However, there remains one more significant pitfall, and it's arguably the biggest one of all. It's the mistake many people make simply by doing nothing at all. Let's discuss what happens when you neglect to drink any water in the morning, not even a single sip, because this particular habit, perhaps more than any other, can quietly chip away at your energy levels, influence your mood, and even compromise your organ function over time. Let's uncover this final mistake together. Mistake number 5, skipping morning hydration altogether. Allow me to introduce you to Elaine. Elaine is 80 years old, possesses a graceful demeanor, and remains remarkably sharp mentally. She actively tends her garden, enjoys crossword puzzles, and never misses her favorite afternoon television shows. However, something had been subtly bothering her. Every now and then, she would experience moments of lightheadedness upon standing up, not occurring every single day, but frequently enough to prompt her to sit back down cautiously. She also started experiencing occasional minor cramps in her legs, particularly noticeable in the mornings. She typically brushed these symptoms off, attributing them to simply getting older or perhaps sleeping in an awkward position. But then, one morning, she stood up, felt dizzy, and momentarily stumbled. Thankfully, she didn't fall, but the incident frightened her, and it understandably scared her daughter as well. Consequently, they began asking pertinent questions. What had changed recently? Was it related to her medication? Could it be her blood sugar levels? As it turned out, the underlying cause was shockingly simple. Elaine wasn't consuming any water in the morning, not even a few sips. Now, here's the crucial truth that many people fail to realize. As we age, our natural thirst signal often becomes weaker and less reliable. You might not actively feel thirsty, but that doesn't necessarily mean your body doesn't require hydration. In fact, by the time you actually experience the sensation of thirst, you are likely already mildly dehydrated. Consider this. Your body typically goes 6 to 8 hours without any fluid intake while you sleep. Even if you don't perceive yourself as sweating, you are still continuously losing fluids through respiration, breathing, transdermal evaporation, through your skin, and basic metabolic processes. Consequently, when you wake up, your cells are relatively dehydrated, your joints might feel stiff, your brain could be slightly foggy, and your blood is often marginally thicker. You essentially begin the day already operating at a hydration deficit. And for seniors, even mild dehydration can potentially trigger symptoms like dizziness, confusion, fatigue, and muscle cramps. It also places additional strain on the kidneys and can even affect heart rate and blood pressure regulation. However, a common refrain among older adults is, "Well, I just don't feel thirsty in the morning," or "Isn't my morning coffee sufficient?" Here's the important clarification. Coffee generally doesn't count towards optimal hydration. If anything, due to its diuretic effect, it can potentially contribute to further dehydration. Your body fundamentally needs water, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a full glass immediately upon waking. Start simply, perhaps with just half a glass of room temperature water consumed shortly after you wake up. Place it beside your bed the night before to make it easily accessible. Integrate it into your established morning routine, just like brushing your teeth or making the bed. Let that simple act be your body's first gesture of kindness to itself each day. Elaine started implementing this small change. She didn't force herself. She just made it a gentle habit. Half a glass initially, then perhaps a little more accompanying her breakfast. Within just a few days, the episodes of dizziness lessened significantly, the leg cramps eased, and she reported feeling mentally clearer, physically lighter, and generally more in control of her mornings. Because the fundamental truth remains, you don't have to feel thirsty to actually be dehydrated. And by consistently skipping that simple yet vital step of morning hydration, you could inadvertently be setting yourself up for a day characterized by physiological imbalance. So, now that you are aware of the 5 key mistakes, those seemingly innocuous habits that often sneak in unnoticed, appearing harmless yet potentially quietly undermining your strength, clarity, and overall comfort, let's take a reflective moment. Consider not just your morning routines, but your entire journey encompassing health and aging. Because what you choose to do or not do within the first 30 minutes of your day significantly sets the tone for the subsequent 12 hours or more. And your body, your beautifully aging, wise, resilient body, undeniably deserves the very best possible start it can get each day. It can certainly feel frustrating, can't it? Discovering that these small, ingrained routines, the little habits you've perhaps performed for years without giving them a second thought, might suddenly be perceived as potentially detrimental rather than beneficial. It's not as though you intentionally meant to do anything wrong. You've consistently done your best based on the knowledge you had. You've listened to your instincts, diligently drank your water, taken your prescribed pills, and remained active whenever possible. And now, you're learning that even something as seemingly innocent and fundamental as drinking a glass of water requires more nuanced care, more mindful attention as you age. That realization, acknowledging that perhaps your body doesn't bounce back quite as readily as it used to, that the physiological rules you once lived by are subtly shifting beneath your feet, can understandably feel unfair, perhaps even a little overwhelming at times. And experiencing those feelings is perfectly okay, because you are most certainly not alone in this experience. Millions of older adults are navigating this very same path every single day, striving to understand their changing bodies anew, endeavoring to stay strong, remain mentally sharp, and preserve their independence in a world that doesn't always make accommodating these changes easy. But please, listen closely. This awareness isn't intended to instill fear. No, its purpose is rooted in fostering awareness, promoting empowerment, and encouraging you to reclaim control during those critical moments where it truly matters most. Because when you possess a clear understanding of what your body genuinely needs now, and what it may no longer tolerate as well as it once did, you can effectively shift from simply reacting to circumstances to responding proactively and intelligently. You can transition from uncertainty to a state of calm assurance, from relying on guesswork to acting based on knowledge, and from feeling potentially fragile to feeling confidently prepared. Because the encouraging truth is, you don't necessarily need to undertake a complete overhaul of your entire life. You simply need to pay closer attention to the quiet signals your body sends and respond to them with thoughtful care and consideration. So, here is one small, actionable step you can take tonight. Before retiring to bed, pour yourself approximately half a glass of room temperature water. Place it conveniently on your nightstand. Let this simple act serve as a quiet promise you make to yourself. And then, in the morning, as the sun rises, before you reach for coffee, before taking medication, before the inevitable noise and demands of the day fully take hold, pause for a moment. Sit up in bed, feel your feet grounded on the floor, and take a slow, mindful sip of that water. It doesn't need to be a large or dramatic gesture, just intentional, just for you. Because these small acts of conscious awareness, these seemingly tiny shifts in routine, accumulate over time. They build resilience, they strengthen your body, they sharpen your mind, and they deepen your connection with the precious life you are still very much actively living. You are not merely surviving. You are adjusting, learning, and continuing to grow, and that process itself requires courage. It is never too late to care more deeply for your body, to honor the many years it has faithfully carried you, and to approach each new day not as a potential burden, but as a fresh, valuable opportunity to actively nurture your well-being. You have undeniably earned that right. You absolutely deserve that level of self-care. So, start tomorrow with intention, not solely because external advice suggests it's good for you, but fundamentally because you are worth the effort. So, let's bring all these insights together now in a concise summary. Remember these key points regarding morning hydration for seniors. Drink slowly. Don't rush your body's natural processes. Be aware of your medications and how they might interact with water consumption timing. Remain upright for a period after drinking to allow gravity to aid digestion. Skip the potentially shocking icy cold water in favor of something gentler, like room temperature or lukewarm water. And crucially, whatever you do, don't skip morning hydration altogether. These 5 common mistakes are indeed prevalent, often easy to overlook, but thankfully, they are just as easy to rectify once you possess the awareness. And now, you do possess that awareness. However, knowledge holds little practical value unless it is shared and discussed. Therefore, I genuinely want to hear from you. Which of these 5 potential mistakes surprised you the most? Was there one particular habit you've perhaps unknowingly been practicing for years? Or maybe there's something you've changed recently regarding your morning hydration that has made a noticeable positive difference in how you feel. Let's engage in a conversation in the comments section below. Truly, your personal story or insight might be the very catalyst that helps someone else see their own situation more clearly. Sometimes, a single shared comment can open someone's eyes to a simple yet profound change they can make. And if this video provided you with even a moment of clarity, peace of mind, or helped you feel seen, heard, or simply understood in your experiences, then I would be honored if you would choose to stick around. Please go ahead and tap that subscribe button, because here on Old Age Wisdom, we don't just discuss aging. We focus on living well as we age. We share practical information about what works, we tell the truth about what often doesn't, and most importantly, we strive to walk this journey together as a supportive community. You'll find no hype or scare tactics here, just heartfelt honesty and helpful wisdom that you can actually apply in your daily life. So, thank you sincerely for spending your valuable time with me today. It truly means a great deal. Take excellent care of yourself. Drink your water with intention and awareness, and know that every small, positive shift you make today is actively shaping a better, healthier tomorrow. Stay strong, remain curious, and always stay wise. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.